Right. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dora. I'm the admin or the person behind this group. So today we are talking about digestion. So for those of you who are new to these weekly lives, every week I come on to connect with you guys on a Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, and it is a chance for me to answer any questions that you might have. But if there are no questions, I tend to talk about a topic that I plan for the week. So this week I'm talking about digestion. So last week we talked about the importance of eating good food, and we touched a little bit on the fact that the food that we eat is going to affect um, our digestion, our gut microbiome, which is, so important in our gut health. So today I want to focus a little bit more on digestion itself. So, as a nutritionist, I've been taught very early on that almost all chronic illnesses, if not all chronic illnesses, stem from bad digestion. And so, this is why it is so crucial that we're looking after our digestive system and making sure that things are functioning there, because whatever's happening in our digestion, there's going to be a trickle down effect to the rest of the body eventually. So you might not feel it right in this moment. You might not feel it in a few months or a few years. It might take a decade for something significant to show up for you. But that doesn't mean that it's not a process getting there. And so my goal to educate um, people to understand that we don't have to get to a point where there's disease or there's a serious physical symptom or an obvious physical symptom for us to take action. Whatever that we are not sort of feeling right now, it doesn't mean that things are all functioning perfectly underneath. And then, there's the other factor that a lot of us have learned to switch off and disconnect from our body. So even as our bodies are sending signals to us, we're not getting them. And so, we allow things to kind of continue or even escalate to a point where the message now is loud enough that we can hear our body saying, "Oh, there's a problem." And so, I mean, uh, the way I look at holistic health is really trying to integrate all of these different areas, eating good food, making sure our digestion is working well, finding ways or practices to help us reconnect with our bodies so we're picking up on these signals much earlier on before they turn into something that's going to be much harder to treat or heal or recover from later on. Um, and so, yeah, so it's really a holistic approach. And so every week I talk about a topic which I think is essential to health, and I'm going to give you a few tips to go with it. But just know that every single topic, as important as they are, it's not the only thing that's important in life. And it is really about that integration of all of these areas together that's helping you to find the most balanced life or lifestyle for you is going to be what's going to really help you to live a healthy life in the long term. But anyway, so coming back to digestion then, why is it so important? Well, for one, we need nutrients to function, and I think we talked about this last week. All the biological processes in our bodies rely on the nutrients that we put into our bodies. And so these nutrients are needed to, some of them are the building blocks that are needed to actually make proteins or used to repair cells or other things that might actually be used as kind of to form structural structures, lack of better word, that they are used to build our bodies. but there's also nutrients that are sort of catalysts for reactions. And so without them, things don't happen. And so when we're lacking in certain nutrients, then certain biological processes don't work or they don't function as efficiently. And our bodies are very, adaptable and resilient and resourceful, and then they can try to source nutrients from different areas of the bodies, or maybe use nutrients that are not exactly, the same sort of they're similar to the ones that may be missing or deficient in. So they kind of do the job, but not really well. So the body can, keep running and functioning for quite a while, even when we are low on certain nutrients. But over the long term, we can't keep this up forever. And that's when you start to see more or bigger or more obvious symptoms that start to show up. And so nutrients are essential for us to, not only to get energy, so that we can have the energy to function, but they're important and they're the, I guess, the backbone of all the biological processes that happen, because they just won't happen without the right nutrients. Now, almost all of the nutrients that we need come from the food that we eat. And it's not as simple as, oh, I'm going to eat this nutrient dense food. It has all of these, wonderful B vitamins and, all of these, wonderful things that are in there, all the minerals and, good stuff. I'm gonna put that into my body and then I'll get the nutrients. It doesn't happen that way. You have to digest the food, but not only just to break it down into smaller pieces, you have to break them down into the most basic, simple units of those different components of the food, so that your body can then extract it from the food. And so, your digestion has to be working well for you to be getting the nutrients that you need. Now, so while we talked about how food is important, because food does affect digestion. So when you're eating junk food, processed foods, foods that are full of chemicals and toxins, yeah, you're going to, directly or indirectly harm your gut. And hence, you're not going to, the digestion is not going to be working well for you. There may be other reasons also why your digestion is not working well, but food could be one of the reasons. Now, having said so, food is not just having sort of healthy, natural, wholesome foods doesn't mean that you're automatically getting those nutrients out of the foods. So we also need to make sure that our digestion is working well. Otherwise, no matter what you put into your body, you're not going to get out what you need. So what are some other factors that affect our digestion? Well, one big one is stress. Stress and the digestive system are so tightly linked, and here's why. So our nervous system, you might have heard me talk about it or others talk about that we have the nervous system. So, okay, let's break it down. So we're able to control certain movements consciously, right? So mainly our muscular movements, we can control our breathing to some extent, right? So these are things that we can control. There are other functions in the bodies that are involuntary. So we don't really have a way to say, stop beating, your heart. You can't stop beating your heart consciously, right? And even with your breath, even when you try to hold your breath, there's going to come a point where your body's going to take over and you're going to gasp for air. So there's this autonomic nervous system that controls all of these involuntary biological processes in our bodies. And digestion is one of the systems that are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. When we look at the autonomic nervous system, you can very generally or very simply divide them into two main branches, which is the sympathetic nervous system, also known as the fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is known as the rest, digest, or rest, restore, heal mode. There's also a third branch, the enteric nervous system, which lines the gut. So if we were just focusing on, say, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system for now, what happens is when you're under stress, your body switches on the sympathetic nervous system. And, you know, just like its name, fight or flight, what your body is geared up to do is to get ready for a big physical activity, whether you're running for your life or you're fighting for your life. And so it's going to start to redirect the resources in your body. It's going to redirect blood flow. It's going to release stress hormones. So you're going to, increase your heartbeat and breathing and, whatever's going to be important to help you get out of that, threatening situation. That's what your body's geared up to do. Now, back in the, caveman times, this is, essential. This is essential. This was essential to our survival, right? So back in those times, your the stresses that you face are likely trying to hunt for food, or you're running away from a predator. It's really something that's very active. It's very immediate. And then you either survive or you don't, right? And if you do survive and you get out of danger, then you're no longer stressed and your body can return back to the, rest, digest, heal. So the parasympathetic nervous system switches back on and rebalances the body. So as you can imagine, not all of the systems or body systems are going to be on when you are in that fight or flight mode, because your body's trying to conserve energy and only direct the resources to the places that are going to help you get out of danger. So things like your immune system is downregulated, because if you're going to be eaten by a tiger, you're not going to worry about getting an infection, right? Reproduction is going to be down, it will be shut down, because again, you're not going to be reproducing when you're in danger. Now your digestion also shuts down, because again, it's not so important for you to digest your last meal if if you might become someone else's meal. And so this is the way our body works. When we're under stress, we switch into the fight or flight mode and our digestion gets shut down. Very simply put, right? Now, our stresses have changed a lot, right? And now we're less likely to be threatened by a predator, but rather our stresses are more psychological, emotional, and these kinds of stresses, unfortunately, are not stresses that we can just run away from. They follow us around. So we're under chronic stress, right? We're always stressed. We cannot get away from our stress. And what happens then is our digestion is constantly switched off. It may not be switched off completely, obviously, otherwise, we probably wouldn't be alive, but, it's not functioning well, right? It's just kind of trying to cope. It's not getting all the nutrients that it needs because blood flow is redirected to other areas, right? Such as your muscles, your brain. And so if you think about it, when you're not supplying your digestive system with nutrients, then over time, it's going to, deteriorate. And when it does, over time, you're going to find that your digestion, or the process of digestion, is going to decrease or worsen. And so, and then of course, when your digestion, like we said, if your digestion isn't working well, then the food that you eat are not processed properly, and the nutrients are not extracted as well as it could have. And so then you're dealing with, your body being malnourished, right? It's not getting the nutrients that it needs, but it's not able to extract the nutrients that it needs. So it becomes a vicious cycle, because that in itself is also a stress, right? When your body is not getting the nutrients, it's going to feel like it's starving, right? And so that becomes a vicious cycle. And so, with digestive issues, the number one tip or advice is really about how can we de-stress your life, or at least take away some of the stresses, give you tools and coping mechanisms so that we can start to bring the stress down, because it's going to be really difficult to get your digestion going again if you're going to constantly be under stress, because when you're under stress, you're not helping your digestion at all. And so here I just want to give you a few tips as to what we can start doing to improve our digestion. So first of all, just taking time to eat. How many of us rush through our meals trying to get through the next thing, and as though our meal or the food that we eat is just something we have to, another task we have to do. So I'm going to do it quickly so I can get on to the next thing, right? So instead, maybe block out time in your calendar during meal times. And, you don't have to spend a lot of time there. But when we're wolfing our food down, we can get into more about digestion, but I won't here. But when we are just, hurrying our foods down, rushing through our foods, our bodies aren't even prepared to receive the food yet. It's like all of a sudden there's no food, and there's no anticipation that there will be food. The body's not ready. It hasn't prepared all the right juices to digest the food, and then boom, you have a full meal that comes down. It's like, you catches your digestion is caught off guard, right? And so taking time, allow the body to understand that, hey, food is about to come. Let us get ready, right? So anticipating your food. And this is why cooking is so beneficial as well, because you're smelling the food, you're seeing the food, and there might be sounds or noises that you associate with food, like maybe when you're chopping your vegetable, you hear the crunch and the chopping board, or any sizzling when you're stir frying or frying something. So all of these things, even before the food gets into your mouth, you're already priming your body that food's coming, get ready. So that's also very important. So having time to prepare your food, and then having time to sit down and eat your food, right? Take your time to chew your food. And if it helps, you might put your, fork down between bites, just to remind yourself okay, I'm going to take this time to eat. So if you block out a time in your schedule and, strictly only allow yourself to be at the, dinner table or whatever it is, so you're not rushing off to the next thing. So even if you finish early, you're going to have to sit there, right? And not do anything else. So if you put that in your mind that you're going to be here for the next, say, 20 minutes, and there's nothing else that could happen during these 20 minutes but eat, then maybe you're able to relax a little bit more and just enjoy your food. So what did we say? If you can, anticipate your food. So maybe cooking or preparing your food. Secondly, blocking out a time so you're going to eat undistracted. So don't scroll on your phone, don't turn the TV on, just eat. Look at what you eat. Enjoy what you eat. And take time to chew your food. So, put your utensils down, chew your food, swallow, and then take the next bite. And then I guess this next one is, might be a little bit obvious, but, if you're upset or stressed, maybe that's not the best time to be eating. Because just as we talked about, your digestion is shut off, and then now you eat the food, the food's not really going to go anywhere. You're not going to extract what you need from it, but on top of that, you might be feeding the the gut bacteria that probably is imbalance if you are under constant stress. So your gut microbiome is probably not in the best shape, and you don't want to be feeding the wrong kind of bacteria and have certain populations that take over or overgrow and cause dysbiosis in your body. So those were a few tips. Hopefully you can even just take one of them and try it out. Be consistent with it. So pick one, whether it's be blocking off the time or trying to find more time to anticipate your food, maybe cooking your food, preparing your food, taking time to chew, and really also, like, again, noticing where you're at. If you're feeling angry, if you're feeling upset, how do you feel when you sit down to have a meal? And if you are upset and frustrated, maybe taking a moment just to take 3 deep breaths. Allow the body to down or allow yourself to come back into your body, and that automatically can start to downregulate your nervous system. And then take your time and enjoy your food. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. And yeah, if you have any other suggestions or topics that you want to hear about, or you want to hear more about this, just let me know. You can pop the comments below, or you can directly message me. But otherwise, have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will see you guys back next week on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Bye now.